Hello everyone and welcome back not only to another show, but another week here at The Damage Report. And it being Monday, I would be failing in my duty to all of you if I didn't almost immediately introduce Francesca Fiorentini. Welcome back to the show, Francesca.
Just another week with you. You and me in Dante's Paradise.
Oh, you've lost me now.
Dun, 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 dun. This is for all the 80s kids and or adults.
Oh, I was worried that if we started talking music, we might delve into territory best left for the weekend.
What
But
happened?
anyway,
Nothing happened in
nothing.
music.
No, something about Taylor Swift. I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the show, Francesca, and everyone currently out there. We've got a lot to talk about. Trump had an interview, and it was on Fox News, that's true, but it wasn't with Sean Hannity, and so it's really something. So we're gonna go
Doesn't
over
count.
some of that. Portland, kind of a scary place, thanks to what the federal government is doing. We'll have an update on that. And we've got the second installment of our ongoing series, Keep On Truckin', Buddy, where Trump's spirits are lifted by the power of big tires. So we're going to have that too. But before we launch into that, let's also have the latest installment of our ongoing series that Francesca's probably not going to be very interested in, which is Caffeine Watch 2020, where I update you on my battle to get rid of caffeine. So, as I alluded to on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I had no caffeine. None.
What?
And it was okay. It was okay. This morning, I woke up and I was so dizzy, I could have, like, for the first hour, I had a decaf coffee when I first woke up, and I felt so sick, and I was so worried about my ability to do the show that I had some caffeine. A small amount, but I did have some. And I'm still dizzy, by the way. So maybe there's underlying health concerns that I need to look into, but that's where I'm at. My body is rotting away, and coffee is literally the only thing that can keep me together. Like scotch tape around my body.
John, all right. First of all, you went from monsters, like 2 monsters a day, to nothing. Like, you're trying to cold turkey it?
No,
You need to be more gradual than that.
No, but it was gradual. I started at
Yeah, but a
2 to
week.
3
You took a
coffees.
week.
No. Well, you're not 100% wrong, but I went from 2 to 3 coffees, large each, and a monster, to 2 to 3 coffees, to 2 coffees for like a week, 1 coffee for a week, and then I just went to 0 over the weekend. I feel that is gradual. I had a week of 1 coffee a day.
I think you can get 1 coffee a day is fine. Definitely, you should be exercising, stretching. You told me before the mics were hot that your back was hurting.
Yes.
I was telling you stretching is one of those really great things. Like, after you stretch, you don't even need an evening drink. Hey.
What if, this is going to sound stupid, and it's not like I know what stretching is, but like if I were right now to try to stretch, it would be a farce. Like, there's got to be YouTube videos, right, that I can follow of stretching routines. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll look it up.
First of all, I'm just gonna say that I'm not being paid by this man, but Rodney Yee, Yee, very good beginner yoga classes, good for men. He's got a nice body. If you like to look at men's bodies as well, Rodney Yee's good for some like intro to yoga.
Okay,
seriously, really easy stuff.
I'll look into it because this back pain. Here is the sorry state I am in physically. I'm hoping my back pain is somehow caused by caffeine withdrawal, because I can't bear any other possibility. Like, I'm dealing with this right now. You gotta have my back while I'm doing the caffeine thing.
I do think the monster might have been slowly eating away at the tissues. I don't know what's in that stuff. Like, is it blue number 5 or number 8 or whatever one makes you sterile? I don't know. But no, one of the numbers probably eats away at your.
Yeah, I think something has been chewing on my back.
It's good to be sterile. It's good to be sterile right now, John. You want to be sterile. We're in a pandemic.
Supposed to inject the bleach into my lower back? I don't know. I thought it was like a cool antiseptic tramp stamp. I thought that's what I was doing. Anyway, I guess hypothetically we should turn to the news at some point.
Sure.
And the funny thing is, I can't go into details, but Francesca and I were talking before the show began about a change to the show I might be undertaking in the near future to bring back some of the professionalism that once reigned on the Damage Report that I think some of the fans might not be as into, but I need, because again, I'm falling apart, but we'll see. And yes, Captain Super Nightman, it's my lower back. I do have lower back pain, and again, hoping somehow it's caused by caffeine withdrawal. But anyway, Francesca,
Losing his mind.
why don't we jump
John.
into the news here?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Oh, and I know that a bunch of you are already here. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. There's close to 4,000 of you, and yet only 644 likes. In the words of my favorite SNL character, what's up with that? So let's fix that, people. And we will jump into the news, starting with the saddest story of the day. Over the weekend, it was announced that Congressman John Lewis, who had announced late last year that he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer at that point, had tragically passed away. He was a son of sharecroppers and an apostle of nonviolence who was bloodied at Selma and across the Jim Crow South in the historic struggle for racial equality, and who then carried a mantle of moral authority into Congress. He was 80 when he died, and by the way, such a weird thing, he died on the same day as another civil rights stalwart, the Reverend C.T. Vivian, a close associate of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That sort of thing, I know it is a coincidence, but that sort of thing always gets me. Like that over these long careers in similar sort of work, that it would end on the same day. That always gets me. So we have more on his history, but how did you feel when you saw that news over the weekend, Francesca?
I mean, honestly, sad that he wasn't able to live to see us boot a white nationalist out of the White House summarily. Like,
Yeah.
I truly wanted to give some of these civil rights leaders who've been carrying this torch for so long that pleasure. But also really happy knowing that up until the very end, John Lewis saw what was going on in response to the George Floyd murder and gave his blessing and was so inspired by the young people who are taking the streets and really carrying his legacy on. And really that legacy is about getting arrested often and with vigor.
Yeah.
And that's what, he calls good trouble. And I think that a lot of people, we think that being arrested is bad. We have a negative kind of association with it. Nah, it's actually part of a long tradition of nonviolent civil disobedience. And so I am happy that he at least was able to see that resurgence of this new civil rights movement.
Exactly. And there's a video I want to show of John Lewis that just seems so timely, considering sort of how he got his start in the national spotlight at the very least, and sort of what was going on politically and socially in the last months of his life. So I want everyone to take a look at this video. It's being featured in the upcoming, it might actually be released, the documentary about his life. This is from the 1963 March on Washington. Here is John Lewis.
Let us not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution, where is a political party that will make it unnecessary to march on Washington? Where is the political party that will make it unnecessary to march in the streets of Birmingham? Those who have said be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. If we do not get meaningful legislation out of this Congress, we will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham. But we will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today. We must say, wake up, America, wake up, for we cannot stop, and we will not and cannot be patient.
So, I mean, that's great, obviously, and I hope that same sort of spirit drives the movement of today. I was reading about that speech, and apparently, I don't remember the exact quote, but his first draft was different. It was more aggressive, and he and the Reverend worked it over to fix it a little bit from Martin Luther King Jr.'s perspective. But originally, he said, we're going to march like Sherman across the South, which is obviously a more you know, that's a more aggressive image.
Yeah.
But he saw it as necessary. And so is it any wonder that he was very supportive of the social movement that we see up until and including today, still in a number of cities across the country?
That's really interesting. I mean, I feel like even then, I mean, gosh, even now, but then in the 60s, coddling the South and specifically former Confederates and sympathizers, you know, still annoyed that they lost. So it's like, how long are we going to keep coddling that kind of racism? And when can we say that it was wrong? That doesn't mean your ancestors are all trash, but it means that you can do better. I'm specifically speaking to like white people in the South. And like, you know, it is, we literally cannot bear to coddle that kind of racism anymore in this country because people are dying. We cannot bear to uphold a racist police system that's killing Black people and people of color.
Exactly. And you've alluded to some of his history, but I want to read a little bit from some of the write-ups that I've read over the past few days. And a lot of this people have been saying in the comments. He was among the original 13 Freedom Riders, the black and white activists who challenged segregated interstate travel in the South in 1961. He was a founder and early leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which coordinated lunch counter sit-ins. He helped organize the March on Washington, where Dr. King was the main speaker on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Mr. Lewis led demonstrations against racially segregated restrooms, hotels, restaurants, public parks, and swimming pools, and he rose up against other indignities of second-class citizenship. At nearly every turn, he was beaten, spat upon, or burned with cigarettes. He was tormented by white mobs and absorbed body blows from law enforcement. He was arrested 40 times between 1960 and 1966. He was repeatedly beaten senseless by Southern policemen and freelance hoodlums. And I read about on the Pettus Bridge, the attack there, the footage of which was obviously very important in getting legislation passed. They talked about the cops and some of their like vigilantes basically taking like lengths of rubber and wrapping it in barbed wire and beating people with that. It's just crazy. And it reminds me, we had not too long ago, we had a guest on to talk about the petition to rename the bridge after John Lewis. And one of our producers reminded me that when we were talking, I think it was Michael Starr Hopkins, I think it was, said, let's do something that we all too rarely do. Let's not wait until after someone passes to acknowledge them in this sort of way. And then it's like this happens and it hits you. I hope that it happens. But yeah, it is unfortunate. Not that he, of course, he knew that he was very well respected and admired and all of that, but it would have been nice to see that as well, considering where he started.
Absolutely. Let's celebrate a lot of 75th birthdays so we can get some of these civil rights leaders before they pass. But I also think that, it's okay if you don't really know who John Lewis is and you're just Googling and reading now. Like, I think that's isn't that great? That his legacy can live on and that we keep him alive and you can tell your children and your children's children, we shouldn't have shame in not knowing the depths of a person's history, and no shame in learning now. I think that's totally fine. We shouldn't feel like we're jumping on any kind of bandwagon. Hey, I'm sure his book is sold out and people are going to watch this documentary. I think that's good. I also want to say, I know, there are some Bernie Sanders supporters who got all upset because John Lewis apparently said that he hadn't seen, I believe it was John Lewis who said he hadn't seen Bernie at a civil rights demonstration. Let that go. Just let it go. It all feels very petty right now when you consider the amount and the breadth of John Lewis's legacy to now hold him in 2020 or 2016 or whatever to these other standards. Just don't be petty about it. All right. This is why I think the left has trouble building bipartisan and multi-tendency coalitions, is because we're so, orthodox about these things. Yeah. It's okay. So we wanted Hillary Clinton to win. That's okay. Let it go.
Yeah. And when we acknowledge people like this, we are not saying, let's talk now for 15 minutes about John Lewis, because I agree with everything that he ever did and everything that he ever stood for. That's not what it is. Some of his politics we obviously disagree with in terms of endorsements and other things. If it was us, we would have done parts of it differently. But the reason we're acknowledging it is because if it was me, some of the parts that I probably would have regrettably done differently are the most amazing things about him. The bravery
Yeah.
that he had, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have had. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would say that few would have. That is why we admire these people from that time so much. Doesn't mean that we agree with literally everything, but I don't want to be a part of the internet movement where we get you to like us by just taking every person and poisoning them. And poisoning
Absolutely.
you against them. And just, you know what? You can't trust literally anyone. I'm the only one you can trust. Screw all of these. I don't want to be a part of that.
Because what if Monster Drink Company starts donating to the Trump administration? Then we have to cancel John. And, like, where would we be without the damage report?
Exactly. Well, we'd
Like,
watch the Bitchwation.
Just think about it.
So we'd be okay. But and to that end, I want to end with, there's a million different like testimonials about him that could be given. I had one of AOC's. But anyway, I just want to read one from before. It's not in response to him dying. This is from back in 2011 when he was being presented the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama, who said, "Generations from now, when parents teach their children what is meant by courage, the story of John Lewis will come to mind. An American who knew that change could not wait for some other person or some other time, whose life is a lesson in the fierce urgency of now." And again, I disagree with Barack Obama on a lot of different things, but that is 100% true. And that is why I'm so glad that people are acknowledging this amazing life's work that he had. It should be an inspiration. You don't have to be inspired by literally all of it, but it should be an inspiration to be a little bit braver, a little bit more urgent in pushing for your values and trying to make the country reflective of what you think it needs to be.
I just want to add one last thing, which is I do think that let's remember why he took a beating so many times and why that Sunday was called Bloody Sunday. It was for voting rights. And every time we try to say that voting doesn't matter, that voting is unimportant, let's remember that John Lewis took a bat to the head so that all Americans could vote. And particularly, you know, the most oppressed Americans, Black Americans, you know, grandchildren of former slaves, right? Like that is significant. And so let's remember that every time we're trying to discredit and discount voting and what that means. That also means we have to protect the right to vote and, you know, end voter suppression, et cetera. But let's not be facile with how important voting is.
Yeah. Yeah. How many of us could have had the freedom, the bravery to be a freedom rider, to board a bus knowing when you get off, maybe best case scenario, you get beaten. But maybe far worse. Maybe you disappear. Maybe you get dragged into the woods by the KKK or something like that. Yeah. It's amazing. Okay. So let's read a few super chats. Oh, I also want to let you know that Hero Day, speaking of heroes, is tomorrow. And while regrettably the hero I choose last week was not John Lewis, we are going to have TYT's Hero Day tomorrow. And that brings with it a broadcast starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and a long line of other things. Roku, Zumo, Pluto TV, Samsung TV Plus, Xfinity X1 and Xfinity Flex. Jank and Anna, JR, Ida, and myself are going to be breaking down the stories of our heroes, why they inspire us, and you know, what we try to learn from their example. So it should be a lot of fun. I think my section is going to start at about 5:15 p.m. Pacific Time. That's what they told me, but I've also been with TYT long enough to know, God only knows. So tune in for the entire thing, and hopefully it'll be inspiring. We can learn a lot about some of the people at TYT and their heroes. That said, Charlie Ellis sent a super chat saying Dragon Squad is always on time. Sometimes the clock is fast. Thank you, Charlie, for your patience. We were not that late. Okay, Brian Rodriguez says, Happy Fantastic Monday. Matt Gaetz is an unclean toilet bowl brush. Hashtag show us the calzones.
Yes.
I like that. David says, I love when I wake up unemployed and catch TDR right when it starts. Happy Monday, y'all. Thank you, David.
John, can I just say calzones makes it sound very Italian, like you want someone to show you a calzone, but it's calzones. So just make it a little more just a little CZ in there.
You're a lot more Italian than me.
No, that's Spanish, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you're that as well. Arguably
go.
Even more. The Cactus says, been watching for a bit. Glad I can finally start to donate. Thanks, y'all. Thank you, The Cactus. I really appreciate that. We appreciate anyone who helps us stay afloat. Lil Yumper says, best way to start the work week with Francesca and John. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Lil Yumper. Very nice of you. Frojo Baggins says, caffeine withdrawal sucks. It takes about 2 weeks of hell, but after a month, you feel better than when you were on caffeine. Kicking a 12-pack-a-day Mountain Dew habit was the best thing I have ever done.
Oh,
wow, Frojo. Okay, now I feel a little bit more like a person who is whining unnecessarily, because that's a lot more caffeine.
And sugar.
And sugar, yeah. Armed Liberal says, your back pain comes from carrying TYT. I don't think that's what it is, but thank you.
Ooh.
Shots fired.
Shots fired.
Into my lower back. Miranda says, Franny is totally right about yoga. I have extra vertebra, and I was in so much pain with my crowded spine until I started yoga and Pilates. Just videos at home. Completely cured me. Love you guys.
Yay. So glad.
Kai Allen says, happy Fantastic Monday to both of you funny people. Francesca, your undies bit last week had me rolling on the floor. We all need to laugh to heal. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm very serious about that. So if anyone thinks I'm joking, it's not a joke. Hashtag
Exactly.
show me the calzones.
Kathleen, thank you for your thank you. Manuel says, your commander-in-chief, the top Twitterator Donald Dump, is increasingly developing into a mixture between Pennywise and Leatherface. Sadistic destruction is the only thing he can really do. Oh my god, that reminds me. The Pennywise comment. I meant to put the Zuckerberg story on the rundown. Damn. Did you see the Zuckerberg picture?
Oh, completely SPF'd out?
I gotta just show it. Just really fast. I got it. Okay, this is funny. Am I gonna be able to find it in time? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it's even really visible at this. But so he's the one on the left, just to be clear. I get why you'd be confused. But yeah, no, his face is mimed out with sunblock. And I get it. You know, skin cancer is a serious thing. But like, what about your ears and your neck, dude? Like, I just never understood the...
That's why his ears are always red, though. It's not that he's
Maybe.
embarrassed because he's done absolutely nothing to stop election interference and he's basically helping authoritarians win elections. It's the sunblock. It doesn't extend to the ears. Also, wear a hat, homie. Like, I don't like, you're a billionaire. You can't teach style. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody in the comment, you can't teach style and money can't buy you style.
Yeah.
We all know this.
Do you wear a hat while surfing, though? Maybe that's why he's not doing it.
You can definitely wear a hat while surfing.
Yeah. Is anyone else disturbed by the concept of him surfing? Like, it's like he's been
Is that what that
programmed-
is?
I think he was surfing. It looked like it. He's been programmed enough as a human to do some of our physical activities, but he can't. It's like a Turing test that's great at athletics, but 2 seconds in conversation, you're like, oh, this ain't right. There's something missing about you. And you know what? It's good, though,
I wear
that a person
the SPF.
protect my human skin from sun. Isn't it weird, though, that, like, a person who just a second or two of interaction with, and, like, seeing him cover for, you know, Trump's authoritarianism and all that, like, it's so clearly a person that you wouldn't trust with even sort of an interpersonal level of power over your life. We've given so much power. Like, more than most people in this world. He has power over our lives, our choices, you know, our politics, all of that. This
Our
person
parents' newfound love of the Joker movie.
Exactly. Yeah. What a weird world we live in. But anyway, it's weird for other reasons too. So let's jump into that now. Let's see, what do we got first here? Okay.
Doopy-doo.
Over the weekend, Donald Trump was interviewed on Fox News. That's always what the end of that sentence is going to be. It's going to be on Fox News, but generally it's with someone like Jeanine Pirro or Sean Hannity. But he made the decision to be interviewed by Chris Wallace. And while Chris Wallace and I probably disagree on literally everything you can imagine, Chris Wallace is not the sort of Fox News host that is just going to sort of tee up easy questions for Donald Trump. He actually questioned him quite a bit. And so we want to go through a few different topics. The first of which is the coronavirus and the fact that cases are going up. So let's take a look at how Trump fielded that question.
Testing is up 37%.
Well, that's good.
I understand. Cases are up, 194%. It isn't just that testing has gone up, it's that the virus has spread. The positivity rate has increased.
Many
the
of
virus
those
is worse
cases,
than it was.
many of those cases are young people that would heal in a day. They have the sniffles, and we put it down.
Okay, so it's just the sniffles. A few problems with that. One, deaths are going up too, and hospitalizations are going up. And generally, you don't get hospitalized with like a case of the sniffles, where it's like, hey, I just want to be put on a ventilator for the next 2 weeks because I've got the sniffles. And so I like that he was willing to be like, no, I've got the actual numbers. It's not just that we're doing more testing, because Trump said that ad nauseum over and over and over and over and over again. But the thing is that Trump is never going to actually acknowledge that. He's never going to like respond to Chris Wallace saying, you know, I've been trying to fight against this idea because I'm just scared about what it represents. But you're right. It's not just the testing. The virus is spreading. Like, that's never going to happen, of course.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. This Trump just doubles down on his own BS and his own lies, but it would be so easy for him to say, yes. I mean, yes, cases are going up, and our testing is a testament to the fact that we're addressing it. And isn't it a tragedy? I mean, again, sociopathic, no empathy. And I mean, with all this entire interview, I resist the urge to be outraged, because I feel like that gives him a win. I expect all of this. I'm like, I don't want him to take any more life force from me. We're already operating real thinly as is. And it's like, yeah, I expect this. But I also am like, it's almost like watching someone like a how to president by doing the exact opposite of this person. Like, you know, journalist presents you with stats that are fairly sad and grave and scary. What do? Become defensive and get angry with him, or nod your head and say it is a tragedy and shut up.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, the acknowledging that it's a tragedy, because that would be at least sober, you know, a sober assessment. He's going to go in the exact opposite direction. So I apologize, but we're going to suck out a little bit more of your life force. Because I want you to take a look at the way he responded to Chris Wallace talking about rising death numbers.
I'm going to do you a favor, because I'm sure a lot of people listening right now are going to say, Trump, he tries to play it down. He tries to make it not seem as serious as it is.
No, this is very serious.
75,000 cases a day.
Show me the death chart.
Well, I don't have the death chart.
The death chart is much more important.
The death chart is 1,000 cases a day.
Excuse me. It's all too much. It shouldn't be one case. It came from China. They should have never let it escape. They should have never let it out. But it is what it is. Take a look at Europe. Take a look at the numbers in Europe. And by the way, they're having surges.
Are 6,000 in the whole European Union.
They don't test. They don't test like we test.
Is it possible that they don't have the virus as badly as we do?
No, it's possible that they don't test. That's what's possible.
Okay, so he was asked about the deaths specifically, and he ended with, "It is what it is." And I tweeted this morning, I think, it was like, I tried to process that being the response to any other tragedy. Like, FDR responds to Pearl Harbor death count. It is what it is. Like, George Bush responds to 9/11 death count. Hey, it is what it is. They never should have sent the planes, but it is what it is. And of course, way more people have died from coronavirus than both of those things combined. What a sick, like, that he doesn't understand. He's just creating more things that Midas Touch and other PACs are going to clip out against him. Like, faced with the fact that we're back to close to 1,000 deaths in one day, he says, it is what it is. China, what you gonna do? Yeah.
They shouldn't have let it escape. You know, it's terrorizing cities, and it's stealing blondes from the 37 stories and climbing up to the top of the Empire State Building and, you know, grabbing helicopters. Like, what is this? What does he think this is? Mm-hmm. We know here's what I think. I think he believes in science. He's too stupid to understand it, but he believes it and he knows it's real. He believes in math. He's just too stupid to understand it. But again, he's purely driven by the desire to not look wrong, to not backtrack on what he said, to triple, quadruple, septuple down on his stupid take from months and months ago, even though every day proves him even more and more wrong. And he looks even worse by denying reality right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It throughout the Chris Wallace interview, Trump seemed so dismissive, like bordering on smug at this point, that he seems to have acknowledged that I can do literally nothing. And in fact, as we're going to show you in just a second, I can actively try to stop people from warding off the virus. And what are you going to do? You know, I'm still doing okay, still might win. He was challenged on some of his insanely detached from reality comments and on the virus and how bad it was likely to be. And here's how he addressed that.
I was going to say, you said at one point,
It's one person coming in from China, and we have it under control. It's going to be just fine. I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope. I'll be right eventually. I will be right eventually. You know, I said it's going to disappear. I'll say it again.
But
it's going to disappear.
Does that discredit
and I'll
you?
be right. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. You know why it doesn't discredit? Because I've been right probably more than anybody else.
Okay, so that was from the very beginning, before we even knew that it was in America, to the very beginning of this month. He's still saying, well, no, eventually, you know, when the sun, explodes into a red giant and consumes the earth, all viruses will be gone. Like this is fun times. Like we're just joking around. We're just joshing each other. 140,000 people have died, but it is funny to him.
Yeah, what else will disappear? Hundreds of thousands of lives will disappear, have already disappeared. But it's very interesting who he's talking to, right? There's like 3 subsects of people who I think he's talking to. One, idiots, straight up. Just people who do not believe in science, party, Daytona Beach, who cares? I don't know anyone who's sick. Oops, I got sick. That's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I think are crazy conspiracy theorists, whether it's 5G, anti-vaxxers, whether it's, whatever it is, they're conspiracy theorists. And 3, actually evangelicals who probably believe that this is part of God's will somehow to kill off hundreds of thousands of Americans. They deserved it. And, Jesus is going to come back riding a dinosaur at any moment. So get ready, pack your bags. Like straight up, we know he's scraping just the resin of the resin of the resin of Trump, of whatever is left of Trump's base, all the backwash, all the little floaties. He's gathering them up and trying to get them to vote in November. And I don't know if there are going to be enough of them left.
Mm-hmm. You got close there to making me throw
There's
up
a lot
air.
of I'm mixing.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Like we're gonna have an example of him basically just conspiracy theorizing live in a national interview. And by the way, great episode of John Oliver this weekend on conspiracy theories and how to try to push back against them. The issue is that it is like we keep pointing out his lack of interest in the virus. The issue, though, is when he goes above and beyond that and doesn't just abdicate his responsibility to protect us, but in fact tries to stop others from doing so. And we have that for you. So apparently the Trump administration is trying to block billions of dollars for states to conduct testing and contact tracing in the upcoming coronavirus relief bill, people involved in the talks said on Saturday. The administration is also trying to block billions of dollars that GOP senators want to allocate to the CDC, and billions more for the Pentagon and State Department to address the pandemic at home and abroad. We can't focus enough on this. He's trying to stop additional funding for testing and contact tracing. He's going so far into it that I'm going to say a sentence that I never would have thought. A Republican governor is blocking billions of dollars in Pentagon funding so that a virus can then continue to spread unchecked. He doesn't want the military to get more money because he's so angry at what they would do with it, which is try to stop people dying from this virus. I know nothing's impeachable or anything like that, but at some point, how does he get to maintain this position and literally stop the tiny little bit of concern from the federal government as to our well-being? Like they were AWOL for months, the Senate. They didn't do anything for literally months. Yeah. Now they're stepping in, and even GOP senators perhaps rightfully understanding that this strategy is not only going to result in tens of thousands of additional people being killed, but will probably imperil their political futures. They're willing to say, okay, fine, we'll give you a little bit more money for testing. And the White House is going to step in and stop that. at this point. What a mad world we live in where this is considered acceptable.
Absolutely. I mean, and on the one hand, I am very upset that that Democrats aren't, say, holding their own press conferences with Dr. Fauci, that they aren't lifting up the science themselves, that they're not saying, hey, look, Mr. President, like all of the S-hole countries that you really hate immigrants from, like, hey, they're actually doing really well when it comes to this war on an invisible enemy that somehow you can't get together on. Vietnam, Cuba, Gambia, Western Sahara has 10 cases. Wow, they're crushing it. Wow, look at that. So, and yet I sort of understand why they might not be, because they're so afraid, one, of looking uncivil and like, you're not pulling together as a country, but maybe they're actually afraid of what this president could do. And I don't know how much farther we have to go. Like, I don't know how much lower there is to go. So I'm not sure how much Democrats have to lose by trotting out Fauci and being like, no, we stand with Dr. Fauci, and you don't have to, whatever. So I'm conflicted on it, but I definitely feel like there is a vacuum of leadership, and the fact that he's taking power away from the CDC, the fact that he is only giving it to, there's a private company that is now going to be logging coronavirus cases, got a $10 million no bid contract from the government to do so. Like, where else, like, how much farther do we have to fall before we actually stand up to this?
Exactly. And yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that private group, because I follow every day the new reports that come out, and hospitalization data is becoming more unreliable because multiple states are trying to comply with the new requirements. So we don't know for the past few days exactly how many people have been hospitalized, which was, of course, the entire goal. And let's talk for just one more minute about goals, because when Trump says things sometimes, anyone who covers it seriously, like the president saying a thing is important, will get attacked as, why are you focusing so much on what he's saying? He's just saying. It's just a dodge. Why are you focusing so much? You're Trump derangement syndrome. So, like a month or two ago, when he started saying, I think we should slow down the testing. I think there's too much testing. We should slow it down. We react with horror at that. And the critics say, you're getting baited by him. He's just saying it. Yeah, he was just saying it. And now they're trying to block funding for additional testing and contact tracing. That's the connection between rhetoric and policy. He implied he doesn't want testing to happen. He doesn't like that it's increasing. And now he is trying to block billions of dollars in increased testing. I don't know how the line can be drawn any bolder between those two things before people get that he does. Yes, sometimes he just says things and then he forgets. But when countless lives are on the line, maybe we take it seriously until we finally eject this guy from the White House. I would love, there's nothing I would want more, except for possibly a cessation of my back pain, to not live in a country where Donald Trump is president. But you can't just stick your head in the ground. You stick your head in the ground, he's still president, your head's just sandy. That's the only difference. It's not productive.
No, absolutely. And time again, you're exactly right that his enablers do take him at his word. They don't think he's being hyperbolic. They have to interpret what baby Trump wants to do today as opposed to what he wanted to do yesterday. And so there's no other directive. There's no behind the scenes, like, extra special plan, agenda. No. It's just what he's rattling off, maybe even on Twitter. And they're going with this. You're absolutely right. There's a connection between his hyperbolic statements, his ridiculous statements, and the policy that's being enacted, and we're the ones who shouldn't be taken for a ride by not taking it seriously.
Exactly. Let's talk more about people not taking things seriously that they should definitely take seriously. Every week, another edition of Mask Watch. Are the people in power going to do literally the bare minimum to stop more people from dying in this pandemic? Just accept that masks are going to help. They're not a solution to all of our problems. We don't have that until we have a vaccine. But it is the best thing, it is the best option, and it is also the easiest option. When do you ever get that in American politics, where your best option is also the easiest and maybe the cheapest option? All of that is true, and that said, asked about masks, Donald Trump, who actually wore a mask finally in public a couple of weeks ago, is still peddling misinformation like this.
The CDC says if everybody wore a mask for 4 to 6 weeks, we could get this under control. Do you regret not wearing a mask in public from the start? And will you consider a national mandate that people need to wear masks?
No, I want people to have a certain freedom, and I don't believe in that, no. And I don't agree with the statement that if everybody wear a mask, everything disappears. Hey, Dr. Fauci said don't wear a mask. Our Surgeon General, terrific guy, said don't wear a mask. Everybody was saying don't wear a mask. All of a sudden, everybody's got to wear a mask. And as you know, masks cause problems too. With that being said, I'm a believer in masks. I think masks are good. But I leave it up to the governors. Many of the governors are changing. They're more mask into. They like the concept of masks.
Okay. The guy who has the best words. They're more mask into. They like the concept of masks. Sarah Cooper, please jump on this. But anyway, yeah. Did you notice what he slipped in there? And as you know, masks cause problems too. That was just the verbal presidential interview equivalent of, I have a card that says I don't have to wear a mask. Also, I don't have to show you the card. It's secret. I don't have to show it to you, but I don't have to wear a mask.
Well, a doctor signed it.
A doctor signed it. He's a doctor of heels. And he said I didn't have to wear a mask, so I get to go in the Trader Joe's, and you can't stop me. That's all that was.
On the other side is my weed card, too.
Exactly. That I'm okay with. But, yeah, of course, no mask mandate. Of course. I want people to have a certain freedom. I want you to be free to die when someone else infects you with a fatal illness. That's what I want.
You know, there are so many similarities, I think, between what this country is suffering under this pandemic and what we suffer from gun violence every single day. And the ways and the fatalistic ways that the people in power, and especially Republicans, operate when it comes to mass shootings and massacres, which is, well, we can't do anything about it because there is a freedom to carry an AR-15 around or whatever you're going to buy, like the freedom to carry a gun. And that is the same thing with masks. And let me just say, I've said this before on this show, but masks are a very, very small part of this. Yes, they work. And yes, they're absolutely a lot of all we have, especially in this country. But so many countries, major countries, South Korea, for example, has been testing and contact tracing, and that means that the rest of the population, the people who have not come into contact with anyone with coronavirus, can just kind of carry on their merry way. Yeah. They're fine because the government is good at tracking who has coronavirus and who doesn't. Now, that might give up a little bit of freedom. Oh no, we have to, other people other than Apple and Google and everyone else who's tracking me on my damn phone and TikTok or China, whomever, like suddenly they have to track me, but for my own benefit, not just to sell me shoes, so like, let's just think about this also, is that all our freedoms, if we truly hate masks, well, then let's ramp up contact tracing. Let's ramp up testing. But no, of course, now the government is blocking, the administration is blocking access and more money for that stuff as well. So we're trying to have it all ways here.
You're 100% right. It's like, it's not just that they're not doing it, it's that they're blocking others from trying to do it. Like you point out South Korea, of course, South Korea has a national strategy. We don't. Is that crazy? It's like month 5 of a pandemic. There is no coordinated national strategy for contact tracing or any of this. It's just, hope you live in a state where the governor acts right, and also hope that there aren't a lot of highways. Yeah, and wait for the vaccine. That's all it is.
Totally will be against once it comes out. Like, come on, I'm sorry.
100%.
What's going to happen? He's going to let go of the anti-vax base that he's rallied up this entire time?
Exactly. And you're so right, by the way, also about the comparison to guns, because this entire thing reeks of 30% of the country is just like, yeah, I guess people die of this now too. I'm okay with it. I'm going to move on. And the president and his media, goons trying to get that number to increase. He wants more people to just lay down. Just lay down and accept that, schools get shot up every month. And, oh, by the way, also, there's a good chance you're going to get seriously ill and someone you know is probably going to die of coronavirus. Just get used to it. The president has. One of his advisors said the president is, quote, not really working this anymore. He doesn't want to be distracted by it. He's not calling and asking about data. He's not worried about cases. And then David Carney, advisor to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, said, the president got bored with it. And he's hoping you will too. He's hoping that in the 100 days, between now and the election, Yeah, more people are gonna die. Maybe we'll hit 200,000. Maybe we'll shoot past that. But isn't it just, it's such a burden to think about it and care about it and be incensed about it on a daily basis. Just put that burden down. Just accept that mass shootings happen, and now there's a pandemic that we're never going to get under control. Just accept it. Just accept it.
Yeah. And all this talk about freedom is utter BS. Anyone who ever tells you that not wearing a mask is their own freedom can shove it right up you know where. And because this is about all of our freedoms. It's our freedom to get out of our goddamn homes. We're stuck in our homes because idiots on Memorial Day wanted to go party. We have to homeschool our children because we don't have a national plan. So F you about your freedom. Honestly, don't ever talk to me about freedom again, because the fact that we don't have a plan means we are all not free to live a normal life under this pandemic because one idiot doesn't want to wear a mask, or you want to get together with your friends or have a party or whatever it is. I'm sick of it. We all know that actually when we're working for freedom is when we're working together. We're trying to prevent death and not foment it.
You're 100% right. I'm losing
sorry, I had to get a little
my
preachy
mind
there.
in this tiny room. I'm not free. You know, we're TYT Studios. How many people are in there right now? 0, I think. I can't go to the gym. Why not? Because we're not taking this seriously. If we had just taken it seriously for like a solid 2 months, did everything that we needed to do, maybe we would be free. But we're not, because you're never free when you're ruled by ignorance. That's the problem. You're always at the whim and at the mercy of the stupid anti-scientific stances of the people in power. And because this is so dark, and because the topic that's going to come after this is pretty dark, Francesca, let's have fun for a minute or two. How about that?
Okay, I don't have my cat though.
No, we'll get it. We'll hopefully. Oh, your cat, you're not there?
No. You have to get your dog or something.
Because I wouldn't have had you on if I knew that. Okay, I'll get a dog in a bit. No, but we're going to have fun, but not with cats or dogs just yet. Instead, with brains. Donald Trump, during his Fox News interview, was asked about his bragging recently of his cognitive assessment test and how amazing he was at it. And here is how he responded to Chris Wallace, bringing up the fact that maybe not the toughest test.
Who is more competent? Whose mind is sounder? Biden beats you in that.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a test. Let's take a test right now. Let's go down. Joe and I will take a test. Let him take the same test that I took.
Incidentally, I took the test too when I heard that you passed it.
Yeah, how did you do it?
Well, it's not the hardest test.
No, but
there's a picture and it says, what's that? And it's an elephant.
No. You see, that's all misrepresentation.
Well, that's what it was on the web.
It's all misrepresentation. Because, yes, the first few questions are easy, but I'll bet you couldn't even answer the last 5 questions. I'll bet you couldn't. They get very hard, the last 5 questions.
Well, one of them was count back from 100 by 7.
And let me tell you, you couldn't answer. You couldn't answer.
All right, what's the question?
Many of the questions. I'd get you the test. I'd like to give it. But I guarantee you that Joe Biden could not answer those questions. Okay? And I answered all 35 questions correct. So
you probably didn't hear, but at one point, Chris Wallace, he wasn't on camera, he says 93. Like, he started to do it. So he threw out the test thing, because he seems to not know that we can see the test. We've shown it, and we're about to again. He said, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. Yeah, the first ones are pretty easy. And look, admittedly, yeah, identifying a rhino, not the toughest thing. And of course, comes in different varieties. The animals change from one to one.
Oh, rhino next to a camel? Oh, super hard.
No, that's a raccoon. What are you talking about? So, okay, admittedly, those are not that tough. But Trump says, but the last ones, those are tough. He said the last 5, actually. So I decided, why not clip out exactly the last 5? And you'll see it's reading a list of digits, forwards or backwards, tough, very tough. Reading a list of letters and tapping your hand whenever you say the letter A. Subtracting 7s from 100 in order. Repeating a sentence back that someone says to you. Identifying what the connection between 2 things is. For instance, banana and orange, what connects those 2 things? Train and bicycle, what's the connection? Delayed recall. I'm going to say some words. You pause for a minute and then say them back to me. And then orientation. What date is it? What year is it, Mr. President? What city are you in, Donald Trump? That's the last question. He specifically identified these as so tough that he said Chris Wallace couldn't answer what year it is or what city he's in.
This test is truly just to see if Pop Pop needs to be put in a home.
Yes.
That's all it is. It is what a family sits down with Pop Pop and they're like, all right, we love you so much, but it's getting a lot for us to have you here in the home, and let's just do this test and see, well, maybe we should get, that's what it is. This is not a presidential test. This is, and talk about falling into your own DNA test. He should know. He set the trap for Elizabeth Warren and she fell right into it. Now he set this cognitive test for himself and he's fallen right into his own trap. He's losing it.
Yeah.
But also, let me just say, I've tried to find whether there's a confirmation of if this is the test, because they say that he took this cognitive test, but they haven't necessarily released his exact test. But just hearing him respond to Chris Wallace's, well, the first one, there's you have to identify an elephant. He doesn't say, no, you don't. Oh, God. Yeah, that wasn't the test I took. Right. Are you kidding me? Or he doesn't say, well, the last one is counting back from 7 from 100. He's like, well, we should take it right now. His reaction to Chris Wallace completely confirms that exactly
right.
was the test.
You're 100% right. And not enough people have acknowledged that. You're 100% right. But as tough as that test was, I want to give our audience one additional test. I'm going to play you a video of Trump talking about the test from a week or two ago, and I want you to see if you can listen to him say this and not imagine Sarah Cooper again doing him talking about the test. I couldn't and still can't, but let's see if you can pass the test.
I proved I was all there because I aced it. I aced the test. And he should take the same exact test, a very standard test. I took it at Walter Reed Medical Center in front of doctors, and they were very surprised. They said, that's an unbelievable thing. Rarely does anybody do what you just did.
That was, again, the elephant test, and I cannot help but picture her with the scribbles on the image. But anyway, yeah.
Can I just say, though, in that clip, he's about to speak at a podium. Was that him at a podium?
I think that was just B-roll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He wasn't. No, he was just being interviewed by Sean Hannity, I believe, at that point. Okay, so I want to show one more video. One more video from his interview. It's not really a topical thing. I just watched this little bit, and it's a question about schools and whether they're indoctrinating, Americans to hate America or whatever. But just I want you to take a look at. He's asked a question about, what is your evidence that this is happening? And I want you to take a look at the twists and turns that this addled man goes on in his response.
You said our children are taught in school to hate our country. Where do you see that?
I just look at school. I watch, I read, look at the stuff. Now they want to change 1492. Columbus discovered America. We grew up, you grew up, we all did. That's what we learned. Now they want to make it the 1619 Project. Where did that come from? What does it represent? I don't even know.
It's slavery.
That's what they're saying, but they don't even know. They just want to make a change.
They're historians.
Cancel culture. I hate the term, actually, but I use it.
But are they teaching
cancel
people
culture.
to hate America?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Look at the professors. Look at what's going on in the colleges. If a conservative goes on a college, and look, we have as many as them. Excuse me. I think, to the best of my knowledge, we're sitting at the White House.
That's one of the
and
questions.
And the Oval Office is right behind me. We have as many as them.
But who's them?
The liberal, radical left. And I'm not talking all. I think liberal. I could tell you I like a lot of liberal people. I like a lot of liberal governors and senators.
He's a madman. I like a lot of liberal. He's asked a question about the schools, and he says, "Look at school. Look at
I watch
tests.
school.
I watch school. I look
watch
at stuff.
The school. I be in school." He answered the last question though, John. So really, the joke is on you. I think we're in the White House.
He did ask. He knows he's in the White. I think, to the best of my knowledge. But
to the best of his
knowledge, the interviewer has to respond, well, slavery is what they're talking about. They're historians. They know as much as anyone knows about this time. And he says they don't even know. But then when he says, I think we have as many as them, and an interviewer of the president sitting outside the White House says, who's them? Do you honestly know who them is? I don't know. He says eventually that it's libs, but it could be anything that his addled mind has conjured up. that is a guy, he goes to what happens to conservatives on schools and look into that. And then I like libs and I like governors. And all of this was about what specifically is being taught in schools that trains kids to hate America. He referenced the 1619 Project, but like that's a project that's going on. It's a podcast. They're working on it. It's not what elementary school like the entire thing is just insanity. And this isn't like years ago. This is the person that is still in charge.
It's like watching like a Grand Wizard toy lose, like run out of batteries, you know, like you go, dear, real white power. Like it's very just like, replace that, you know, the pull string's broken.
Exactly. The joke is on us, of course, because as you pointed out, he still is in the White House, even though he has as many as us.
But could Chris Wallace have been like, no, we're not in the White House. You're in your room. You're in your bed. You're in the Upper East Side.
Trump falls asleep.
You're in Trump Tower. This has all been a dream. Come with me.
I wish.
Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo.
I wish he had that power.
Can we do that? I feel like we're almost there. Like we could just convince, if we all Truman showed this, convinced him it was a giant dream, and then we can have our country back.
Exactly. Let's work all. We just have to set the clocks back in the entire country effectively. It's that sort of thing. If only. If only. No. The joke is on us, and it is a reality show, but not a cool one like the Truman Show. Anyway, okay, we don't have much time, so I'm going to be reading Slacks at the end of the show. I apologize for everyone who did, but we've got a couple more important stories to get to, and time is wasting because I can't stop talking. So let's jump right into Portland. The rise of fascism in America sort of has a hot zone right now. You're seeing it every day on the streets of Portland, and I want to show you another video. A video that has gone viral that really has happened. This sort of thing has happened to so many people, but this one really stuck out. Take a look at this video. This shows Christopher David, a vet of the U.S. Naval Academy. So that's the video. He walked up to them. He says that he asked them if what they're doing is actually defending the Constitution, that sort of thing. And his arms are down. He's just standing there. And a guy takes his baton in both hands and begins wailing on him like he's trying to chop down a tree. And I think a lot of people saw his, like he was implacable, like he was unstoppable. He was injured, as we'll get into, but he didn't yield to it. And it was a very inspiring image that, like, all of the unrestrained, rabid force of this unaccountable, like, military force that's been dispatched against the will of local authorities, just wailing on a concerned citizen and not being able to take him down.
I love it. I want it on a t-shirt. I want a pin. I want it's beautiful. I'm waiting for him to just like grab him by his helmet and just like place him over there. Mm-hmm. And then some a-hole comes up and tear gases him in the face.
Yep.
Real brave. This is great. No, I'm glad. What are they defending again? Oh, statues. Got it. Inanimate bronze.
Yeah, and that's sort of symbolically what makes it so powerful is he reacts as if they were wailing on a statue. But the statue is just a vet who cares. He said he just wanted to know what they thought of the oath they had sworn to protect and defend the Constitution. He apparently yelled at them, "Why are you not honoring your oath? Why are you not honoring your oath to the Constitution?" That's all. He just went up. He didn't attack him. Wasn't violent in any way. Eventually, thanks to the chemical weapons, he was unable to see, and so he stumbled away. He found his way to a bench in the park where a street medic aided him and eventually pulled him away from the advancing officers. At the hospital, he learned his right hand had been broken in 2 places. But even, like, broken bones, like, retching from the chemical weapons they had used against him, he didn't go down or anything like that. And the thing is, like he points out, I think rightfully so. That obviously the vast majority of people can't withstand, you know, unrestrained abuse of force the way he did. But he said, it's just us normal people out there. There were a whole group of pregnant moms standing out there linking arms and they got gassed. You hear people like Trump say it's just a bunch of wacko fringe people in liberal cities are out there. But no way. We're all just normal people who think what's happening is wrong. Like, yeah, so you have Colossus there, but then you have these are just concerned citizens, not Antifa. It's nothing like that. These are just people who don't like what they're seeing. The idea that people are being kidnapped off the streets and shoved into unmarked cars, it's madness.
Yeah, and I hope people see that video. And it's sad that it has to be a veteran of the Navy, big white guy, from what I could tell, who can get through to people in the ways that when young people of color, black people are tear gassed, or, you know, if they're like a skinny punk, you know, there's not the same empathy. So good for him for saying that, yeah, there's all kinds of folks on the streets here and we are peacefully assembling. We all have seen that Chad Wolf acting DHS memo about what's been going on and all the violent anarchists who are graffitiing. All the violent anarchists who are using a laser pointer.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. And we're in this moment of, and we've seen this since the George Floyd protests began, of, is obeying orders enough? Like, we've now brought the tactics that we've used in other countries, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, we've now brought that home to roost. And wasn't okay there, and it certainly isn't okay against American citizens back here. So is it okay for these military men and women to obey orders? Yeah. Can you just say that you're obeying orders? I mean, we've seen this before in dictatorships that the U.S. has propped up around the world, you know, from, you know, Pinochet's Chile to the dictatorships in Argentina to Central America, et cetera. Like, this looks exactly like all that footage did when they were disappearing dissidents.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're not inherently better in any way. We're just people, like the citizens and cops and soldiers of those countries. And I pray that we get through it better than has happened in many of those examples. But we're not going to just get through it better because, hey, it's America. You know, only good things for America. That's not the way it works. Many people are pointing out in the chat that while it is inspiring to see him taking that beating and, you know, standing strong, it is probably going to be used to advance conspiracy theories about Antifa super soldiers finally being deployed to the streets. Now, that said, because he clearly is a super soldier, that said, here's what's scary about this. What we're seeing in Portland right now, get ready across America, because it might be coming to a city near you. Trump this morning was asked about more deployments to cities and said, quote, "I'm going to do something, that I can tell you, because we're not going to let New York and Chicago and Philadelphia, Detroit and Baltimore, and all of these, Oakland is a mess. We're not going to let this happen in our country." And Acting Deputy Homeland Security Secretary Ken Cuccinelli said today that Trump's use of federal officials to detain individuals in Portland, he said it's fine, and said that the widely criticized federal law enforcement efforts could extend to other cities should they see spikes in violent protests. But they'll be very fair and unbiased about what qualifies as violence. Clearly, the person trying to lumberjack down this vet, that's not violence. The fact that he lost his mind when the first hit didn't knock someone down. Since he's been trained that I hit you and you go down, he lost his mind. That's not violence. But according to Ken Cuccinelli, and, you know, also apparently 150 agents that are being sent to Chicago, what we're seeing here, the mass beatings from unaccountable soldiers or law enforcement or God knows what's using rented vehicles to stuff someone in there and then drive them off without letting anyone know where they're going. That was Portland, and now it's going to be Chicago, and apparently New York, and Philadelphia, and Detroit, and Baltimore, and hey, maybe Oakland and LA as well. Because this isn't about controlling out-of-control violence. This isn't even about statues. This is about a base that demands authoritarianism, that wants fascism. And so he is going to do this performative authoritarianism to demonstrate to his base, I will brutalize these people that you hate. Watch me. I'll do it in Portland. I'll take it to cities. I can't do rallies in cities around the country, but I can have beatings and disappearings in cities around the country. And so that seems to be the strategy.
Yeah, and back to freedom. I mean, again, I think the left should absolutely reclaim the language of freedom, because it is our right to protest, and it is our right to assemble, and it is our right to demand that our government do better. And I know this is scary. I feel like a lot of people's response is to sort of keep their heads down and stay home. And I mean, I definitely don't encourage people to necessarily take the streets in the middle of a pandemic, but I also want to say that staying home and, as John said, sticking your head in the sand is also not an option, right? Like, we have to be in solidarity with the people who are out there. We have to stand up for our values. We have to stand up for free speech, real free speech, not Milo Yiannopoulos free speech. And remember that we are far better than this, and we're not going back to death squads that we propped up in the mid 80s. Like,
exactly.
So, it's just scary. It's really, really scary, John. And I think this is where the rubber hits the road when it comes to fascist takeover is, is it Al-Sisi in Egypt? Is it China in Hong Kong? Like, how is the population going to respond? Are we going to embrace some kind of military dictatorship? Are there going to be defections from that same military, right? I mean, Trump hasn't necessarily endeared himself to military brass, right? Yeah. I mean, he's put them at risk. He's been fine with coronavirus spreading rampantly in military bases and on ships, etc. He's publicly disrespected so many military men and veterans. So I don't know. I don't know if we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I hope that those soldiers have no interest in being deployed to brutalize American citizens in cities across the country. And hopefully the media will cover it responsibly. I think that what's been going on in Portland has been covered. I hope that, Chuck Todd can get as incensed about these anonymous camouflage soldiers as Bernie Sanders' brown shirts during the primary.
Oh, God.
But we'll see. That's our media. And again, you get these outcomes in countries that don't have a media that can adequately stand against it. So We'll see if ours is strong enough. That said, I know I don't have me for much longer, but let's see if we can roll through one or two more really fast. Because this is particularly scary.
Let's do it, dude.
You might find it interesting. We'll see. Very scary and tragic story involving a murderous attack against the family of a judge. The son of a federal judge in Newark has been shot and killed, and her husband shot and injured in an attack at the family's home, according to law enforcement sources. The judge, Esther Salas, was not hurt. Right now, there is a suspect, a white man who wore a face covering and a FedEx uniform, according to law enforcement sources. He used an ordinary car to make a getaway and remains at large as of when we're filming this. The gunman apparently knocked on the door 5 p.m. Sunday. Mark Anderl answered the door and was shot first before his son was also shot. The husband is in critical condition. The son tragically passed away. And the mayor of North Brunswick said that as a judge, she's had threats from time to time, but everyone is saying that recently there had not been any. And people in the chat know where this is going. I feel uncomfortable even bringing this up, but people have to wonder if it is tied to the fact that last week she was assigned to oversee a class action lawsuit filed by a group of investors against Deutsche Bank, contending that the firm failed to flag questionable transactions that were made from the account of the financier Jeffrey Epstein, who died last August while in jail, awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. We have no idea. Regardless of what the impetus for it was, it does seem to be targeting a judge for their job, which is just the worst possible thing you can imagine. And how much, I mean, she lost her child already and could theoretically lose her husband. What a sad story.
I mean, it's absolutely tragic, especially, it's chilling. Opening the door and then being shot point blank, like, that is so scary. And let's be honest, like, when we're talking about those transactions and what shady sources they might have come from, we're talking about drug traffickers. We're talking about the mafia. We're talking about people who drop bodies on the regs because, like, that's how they operate. This is the business model. If we're talking about sex traffickers, that's also the business model, but it's hard. It's hard because a lot of the mainstream media won't cover it because it does feel really out there, but we'd be very naive to pretend that drug traffickers and and sex traffickers and these kinds of like, not dark forces. Gosh, I sound like a QAnon person when I say that. But you know what I mean? Like these really, really shady figures in shady industries don't exist. Like we'd be idiots. We know that in 2008, like part of the reason that the entire financial system didn't collapse was because there was a lot of drug money running through our system. And it was like, oh, that was still going strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So look, I don't know what else to say. Like, I understand a lot of people's speculation is that it has to be tied to this particular case, and maybe it does. It certainly seems like the family was targeted. I feel uncomfortable speculating. I don't want our country to become a place where judges, like there are other countries not far away. Mexico has this where judges and mayors and police chiefs are hunted and gunned down. I don't want that to be our country. So I don't know. Is it scarier if it is an attack against the judge because of one or another of her cases? Or is it just that, no, we have so much domestic terrorism these days that it just happens randomly? You know, we have so many Boogaloo Boys and the militias and all that stuff that, I mean, can we really say in any particular attack what the cause actually was? Both of those are unacceptable explanations.
I think what's upsetting and what's hard is when we don't ask questions and we don't sort of like, hey, Deutsche Bank was laundering some money. Oh, like this is based in fact. Like we don't have to just speculate. But when there's a complete blackout, when we don't talk about it or ask any questions, I think that's when it almost leads to more conspiracy, because it feels strange that we're not even mentioning that, hey, this judge was put on an Epstein case, and there's maybe that's anyway. No, am I weird for even you know? So I think that without spreading false information, there's got to be a way to talk about these issues without leaving it to like a cold case podcast 5 years from now.
Exactly. Anyway, I mean, just feel horrible for the family. Just got to be devastating, regardless of the cost. That said, do you have just a couple more minutes?
Sure.
Finish with something as light as news could possibly be. Chubtoad sends in a super chat saying that the suspect was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh, wow.
Okay, assuming that is true, I mean, that is hardly going to tamp down people's wondering what the cause was, that a body turns up already dead and can't be questioned.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't say more because I don't know these details, but we'll see. Jesus. Okay, I'm going to try to transition to something light now. Thank you, Chubtoad. I do appreciate that. Okay. It wasn't long ago that we reported on the show that considering how badly things have been going in the country, but especially for Donald Trump's re-election efforts, his aides had come up with a sort of unique and very childish way of bucking up his spirits, and that was that they tried to cheer him up during the pandemic by bringing big trucks to the White House. And some people might have seen that news and thought, well, come on. Okay, yes, I will grant you, they did bring a bunch of big trucks to the White House, but it's, they just care about truckers. It's not just like, because Trump, like a 4-year-old, loves trucks. Well, then how do you explain this? A couple days ago, they wanted to focus on how much deregulation the White House had done. And so, rather than just having a press conference, they decided to do this. They took weights off of a red truck, with Trump standing right by it on a podium as a big crane took big weights off of a big truck. And you can see here him standing between the two big trucks, loaded down with weights. He does love a good truck. Here's the other side, by the way. Yeah, they brought a bunch of people to watch this Trump crane take weights off of a truck so that Trump could stand by the truck. Are we selling these?
Like, is this another commercial? Are those weights full of Goya beans?
No, apparently they weren't even very heavy. It was just symbolic, but not necessarily in the way they intended, that these weights that were being lifted off the truck. A truck, by the way, intended to carry heavy weights, so I don't understand the symbolism there. No, they were just super light weights. They were imaginary. So the regulations they were lifting were not actually that heavy on the truck in the first place.
What? It does, though. I mean, it's very Looney Tunes, because you just want a crane to go like tick, 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 drop, and like if this entire administration went out with an anvil, it would be very on brand He is Wile E. Coyote. And everything he does backfires on himself. So it does make you think Looney Tunes. I wish that were the case. But also, I will just say, quick little plug, if you haven't seen an episode of The President Show, which was on Comedy Central, and the best Trump impersonator ever, Anthony Atamanuik, his very first episode, he gives you a tour of New York City and then he gives you a tour of the White House. Watch that, because it ends with a great truck line that I love. And I think you should pull it up for tomorrow or a future show, John. It's excellent.
Awesome.
But yes, he loves the big trucks. Beep, beep, honk, honk.
Yeah, and by the way, how much money did this cost? Setting this up, bringing the crane in. Who made those weights? Like, it's not like Trump paid for this, by the way. We paid for this.
What does it say on the crane?
Trump administration. Because it's like a political cartoon. Every bit of the analogy has to be spelled out like a Ben Garrison cartoon, because they have no faith in their base to be able to, like, oh, I get what you're doing. They have to do every... But we paid for that. Francesca, you paid for that. I paid for that. So he could bring in trucks and stand by the big tires, and the weights get lifted off because of the deregulation, or the regulations that are crushing a red truck.
Why do we pay taxes? That's the other thing. Honestly, why do we pay taxes? The right is always like, oh, your taxes. Yeah, the left, meanwhile, is paying for things that we absolutely don't believe in, like military bases around the country terrorizing, or around the world terrorizing it, trucks with empty weights on them.
Mostly
we should be the ones talking about taxes.
Exactly. God, such nonsense. Anyway, just wanted to end on a bit of a lighter note. Francesca, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're out of town, but you were every bit as professional as always, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. I don't have shoes on.
Okay, well, neither do I. And I doubt many people in the audience do right now, because it's hot, and it's the pandemic, so who cares? But anyway, where can people see more of your content?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Franny Fio, and listen to the Bituation Room podcast. We just had Adrienne Lawrence on, who you've seen on TYT. She was excellent. We got a new episode. We're talking about Kanye, which is a topic we avoided in this hour, John. So kudos to you, because it is a death spiral of discussion.
I just can't. I can't.
Very good. No,
more power to you if you can. I can't. I can't with it.
It's fine. Anyway. No, I think you did a good service by just talking about, the elephant and camel pictures. That's better.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you as always. You're the best. Have a good one.
Hang in there.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, and everyone at home, I apologize for going so long without responding to your comments and tweets and everything. It was just, there was so much to talk about. I really produced too much for this, so let's talk about what you have talked about. Ben Fox says, commiserations on you guys becoming a tin pot dictatorship. If the result wasn't so terrifying, your big bad government trying to make a cat toy laser pointer sound scary would be very, very funny. Thank you for your commiserations. I appreciate that. Majid says, Francesca and John, my favorite Italians. Keep up the good work. Love you guys. Thank you. Ian says, I have shoes on. Well, Ian, you're the only one. Okay? Dragon Squad doesn't wear shoes because dragons don't wear shoes. We take all of our cues from dragons. David Baker says, John and Franny are the best. Thank you so much. I saw Zane's comment, 93, 86, 79, 72, 65. Trump's face was blank. He didn't get that far, and you and I both know it. Army of One says, John, check out book Treat Your Own Back. Okay, I'm going to have to take a look at that. I could use it. Stephanie, thank you for your emojis. I appreciate that. Okay, Melissa says, says, John Lewis said he was worried the BLM movement would be taken over like happened in the 60s. Didn't agree with the defund police message taking over. That's sort of what we were saying. Like, whether he agrees with every exact bit of it or whatever, like, I mean, he's been on the right side far more often than not in a way that few others have been, and so worthy of recognition for the amazing bravery he's shown and the moral leadership. And by the way, in terms of like the exact messaging, like there's other people that I very much like and respect that disagreed with that. I think that they were wrong, but it doesn't make them bad people. Peter Michael says, Rodney Yee really is wonderful. Sorry to hear about your back, John. I love Fantastic Mondays. Much love. Thank you. I'm gonna have to check that out a little bit later on. Some stretching might be in the future. Christopher Moore says, Cuccinelli had said that they were going to expand the secret police to other cities. We are in trouble. They're going to bring Portland to us all. Exactly. So we did end up talking about that. It looks like Chicago is going to be the next stop, although God only knows, it could hit New York or something like that. Over on Twitch, thank you for those cheering with bits, including Thunder Voice, Painting All Night, and Thunder Voice again. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, as always, gifting community subs. Thank you so much for doing that. We do appreciate it. Pygmy Bean on Twitch said, get arrested often and with vigor, drink water, do yoga. We are all about promoting a healthy lifestyle here. Thank you. And similarly, Gay Space Ace said, Johnny Boy, look into restorative yoga. It's all about healing yourself in pain relief. Stay healthy. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Suggestions to drink yerba mate, I believe. I don't know if that's going to fix it, but generally I could be consuming more healthy stuff. Bart, thank you for the breaking news. I guess we ended up getting to it independently, but thank you. Let's see. Gabby tweeted to us at #TDRLive. I grew up listening to stories from my mom and other family about what it was like living under Franco's dictatorship in Spain. The videos from Portland are horrifyingly reminiscent of many of those stories. We're not approaching fascism in America, we're drowning in it. Well, yeah, and look, so far, thankfully, the people that have been carted away have turned up. That's where we're at in 2020. Well, let's see what happens. Jennifer said, much love to y'all from Asheville, North Carolina. Thank you, Jennifer from North Carolina. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. Bradley Slaughter says, you can do some chair stretches and pelvis lifts to fix your lower back. Also, Matt Gates is a tool. Thank you. Nappy-headed Nose says, I went cold turkey. Once I got past the migraine headache stage, it was wonderful. Hoping to approach that. Thank you. Nick the Unicorn had wanted to hear some of Francesca singing, but unfortunately we missed it. Sorry. But we are basically out of time. I did want to show you a pup to start off the week. So while my dog is eating, and thus he is going to resent me taking him away for a minute, I am going to grab him for just one. Oh, my lovely wife is being very helpful and bringing a pup that's not currently eating. Hey, Abby. How's it going? How come you're not hungry? Oh. Hey, Abby. Look at Mama. Look at Mama. Okay. Thanks. This is Abby. She is as scruffy as we're going to allow her to become, so within a week she is going to be trimmed once again. She's going to be half her size, and more dog than bear at that point. But anyway, we are way over, and we got an interview coming up, so I gotta run. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. We got a big week planned. Adrian Lawrence is going to be joining us tomorrow for the show, so definitely stay tuned for that. And also tomorrow is TYT's Hero Day, so following the main show, that's going to be with Jake and Anna and Ida and JR and myself, so definitely stay tuned for that as well. I'll see you soon. Stay safe out there.